With it being Star Wars Day recently, and I have an upcoming video looking at the entire Star Wars sequel trilogy, which will be seen in a fairly negative light, I thought why not talk about all the great Star Wars media Disney have released and make a bit more of a positive video, because overall I think Disney have actually done a pretty excellent job in the quality of Star Wars media they've released, despite what a lot of people might tell you. In this video I just want to briefly talk about great Star Wars media Disney have released and give it a little mini review of each piece. But before I continue, please do subscribe if you're enjoying my content, and as always please do leave a like. Disney have produced an abundance of Star Wars media since acquiring Lucasfilms all the way back in 2012. Some may argue Disney have gone over the top with the cash cow that is Star Wars, and appear to be milking everything they can. But this is no different to what Lucasfilm were doing before the merger. It's just that everything is now under one umbrella, with one continuous storyline compared to the Legends universe, which was written by various freelance writers. Whilst I think Disney's attempt at making a cinematic-esque universe comparable to the MCU was optimistic, Disney have produced consistently great Star Wars stories, and here are just a few of them I personally love, and I think you should check out for yourselves. I have previously spoken about the Darth Vader comic in 5 Comics to Read video. The 25-issue series running from February 2015 to October 2016 chronicles the adventures of Darth Vader in the time between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, as Vader tries to reprove his worth to the Emperor after the disaster of the Death Star blowing up in A New Hope. Vader fights for authority and respect amongst Imperial officers, and has to fight for his life against potential new apprentices. A fantastically written comic by Kieran Gillen with amazing art by Salvador LaRocca, this comic really feels like original Star Wars, and a great aspect of the comic is it tries to incorporate some of the prequel aspects in a creative and engaging way. The comic bridges the gap between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and adds more character development to Darth Vader, and how he became one of the most feared men in the galaxy, and how he managed to ascend to power from New Hope to Empire Strikes Back after the death of Grand Moff Tarkin. A fantastic comic which all fans should really read, and it really fleshes out the character of Darth Vader. Okay, hear me out. Whilst upon Battlefront 2's initial release was a complete and utter disaster, much of the criticism aimed at its loot boxes, which could give players substantial gameplay advantages if purchased with real money, EA addressed the loot box problem and released a flurry of updates. The game has recovered massively, with fans enjoying the highly addictive multiplayer aspect of the game, which is very reminiscent of the classic original Battlefront 2. Whilst the story mode of the game is kind of boring and not particularly creative, I think a lot can be said for Disney for stepping in and addressing the obvious problems with the highly anticipated game and made EA get their act together in order to create an enjoyable gaming experience for the legions of Star Wars fans who waited so patiently for this game. If it wasn't for Disney stepping in, this game probably would have died by now. However, thanks to Disney's interference, the game is highly successful and very enjoyable, with regular updates celebrating everything Star Wars. The game is one of the very few instances where, despite losing many players and having just an awful opening, the game managed to recover and regain a lot of the players, something that's pretty unheard of, and I think a lot of this success is down to Disney, who showed they do actually understand Star Wars fans and were willing to listen to their criticisms and make a much better experience for the fans. I think Battlefront 2 really shows Disney know how to interact with the fans. So either Rogue One or Force Awakens is my favourite Disney produced Star Wars film, and I think Rogue One just edges it for me. Whilst Force Awakens was a fantastic celebration of original Star Wars and was the perfect film to re-engage with fans and their nostalgia, Rogue One was similar but made a creative story in order to add more depth to the Star Wars universe. And it's even more incredible considering the amount of reshoots this film went through that it's still as good as it is. Rogue One is a film which tells the story of how the rebels actually came to possessing the Death Star plans. It's a beautifully shot film and gives us some of the best action scenes ever seen in a Star Wars film. Whilst I will concede the characters are a bit one-dimensional and the first half of the film was a little slow, the film just looks so fantastic, I just can't stay mad at it. When I watched this film in the cinema, I remember being on the edge of my seat for the final act and was hooked on every part, desperate to see what would happen next. Rogue One adds new depth to the start of New Hope without diminishing the film's story, when say compared to the detrimental effect the prequels had on the original trilogy. Rogue One enhances it as you understand what the rebels went through in order to get these plans. The MacGuffin of the film takes on new meaning, And we understand better the sacrifice that was taken in order to achieve these plans, and why the rebels only have one shot at destroying the Death Star, until, they do it 2 more times. Rogue One, whilst not being the best Star Wars film, is a great piece of Star Wars media, with excellent action scenes and a fantastic looking aesthetic that, if the original Star Wars films were made today, this is what they would have looked like in my opinion. Rogue One is everything you want in a Star Wars film, a fun, action-packed space adventure, and it also gave us one of the best scenes ever in Star Wars history. The original Clone Wars series has gone down in Star Wars history as being the best example of making the prequel trilogy ideas work. The series received incredible reviews after the first season and has cult status amongst Star Wars fans, with some calling it the greatest Star Wars stories told since the original trilogy, which is kind of hard to argue with. Upon Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, there were no immediate plans to continue the Clone Wars story. Instead, Disney announced a new spin-off Star Wars show, Star Wars Rebels, which would take characters and aspects from the Clone Wars into this new series, with a very similar aesthetic. At the time it seemed like a good idea. Disney wanted to make their own stories and branch out from what was already made. Rebels, whilst not a terrible show, became more kid-friendly when compared to the Clone Wars, and definitely marketed itself more to a child-centric audience, so like the depths Clone Wars went to. But the show wasn't without merit. But when Disney announced a 7th and final season of Clone Wars, there was an air of caution, as many fans felt Disney just lacked the creative team to pull off completing the highly successful and lauded series. Especially after the apparent tone they were going for with Rebels, it was thought this might cross over into the Clone Wars and not keep with the essence of the original series. It was a lot of pressure to make a great final series, seeing as Star Wars fans are not easily pleased and don't really know what they want. However, what we got was simply fantastic. The animation kept with the original Clone Wars series, albeit more refined and looking more beautiful than ever. Probably the best looking animation of any of the 7 series. The show had impressive visuals, camera work and action scenes which kept you on the edge of your seat. Fantastic story arcs which closed off some of our biggest questions, adding new depth to the Star Wars mythos. And in true Clone Wars spirit, moving away from the light versus dark aspect of the films, which I've been waiting for so long. The Clone Wars kept with its adult themes and isn't really marketed for children, but obviously children can still enjoy it. It's what Star Wars should be, a family based show with some heavier themes. I don't really want to ruin what happens in Clone Wars because it has only just come out and I know a lot of people are still watching this show, but it is simply fantastic and truly shows Disney understand how to make Star Wars stories, and they understand the essence of why people love the Clone Wars. So there you have it. In honour of Star Wars Day, there's a few great Disney Star Wars stories that have been told. I do think Disney get a bit of a hard rap for the Star Wars media they have released, as I think a lot of it is pretty good. Rogue One and Force Awakens are pretty good films, and whilst yes, Last Jedi is a controversial film which splits the fan base, at least it tried to do something creative with the Star Wars saga, instead of, playing it safe. I think far too much attention is given to the 3 films because obviously they are very jarring, and I do think Disney got it wrong. But to say Disney have done awful with Star Wars is just wrong. There are many great comics, video games and TV series which I haven't even mentioned in this video. Disney definitely have faltered along the way, but have shown they do understand what fans love about the Star Wars saga and what makes it work and what makes it tick. I do hope they get back to better ways when making the films, because obviously they have been lacking lately, and Rise of Skywalker was a pretty terrible film. However, hopefully Disney can take a break, reevaluate and make some more Star Wars films, because they have shown they can tell Star Wars stories. They just need to crack the films, and I think that is the final piece of the puzzle for Disney to finally make some very, very memorable Star Wars media. But thus far, I think they're doing a great job. And as always, thank you for watching.